They've been very low-key, and that is another special quality. Very modest in the work that the network has been doing, but significant in holding the community together in very difficult times, whether it's when we've had threats from the far right, or we've had fracture in the community during the Respect years, and then over the last few years, when there's been huge division in our community. This group, linking into the wider constituency, here in my constituency, the wider borough, into the wider community, has tried very hard to keep people together, even when it's been challenging and difficult. And that is a special tribute to all of you. And it's something we have to hold on to, because the challenges are going to grow. I was really pleased to see the sort of priorities this organisation has been focused on. Clean streets, clean politics, very important, and you're absolutely right to hold politicians to account, all of us to account, to make sure that we deliver on the promises we make. Social justice, tackling antisocial behaviour, making sure the environment is good for our community, economic development, education, training, tackling the housing crisis. These are the priorities of our council, these are the priorities of the Labour Party. So it is absolutely right that you hold all of us to account, and that there should not be complacency in any part of our administration in the council, and that's where partnership is so important. John is absolutely right, and others have said so. We haven't been, our council, Labour hasn't been in control of the council for very long. And in opposition, over the last 5 years, Jim and I, working with our councillors, have worked to fight off huge challenges and huge cuts in this area. I want to remind you, some things we did achieve in the last 5 years, even though Labour was in opposition in national government and in local government. We got hundreds of millions of pounds by lobbying the national government for decent homes funding. We made sure that the Conservative government didn't end the funding to building schools for future, so that your kids don't have to go to schools with dilapidated buildings and leaking roofs like I had to when I was at school. That was because we worked together to make sure that the government didn't slash the funding and our schools got the money. We also, locally, together with all of you and this network and others and councillors, worked to stop the government from closing 4 GP surgeries in this borough, and also to get a better deal from the previous administration for leaseholders, which is now being delivered by the new administration under John Biggs and his team, so that people don't get thousands and thousands of pounds of charges for major works, which hundreds and hundreds of people have been affected by. And across from here, only a few months ago, East End Homes announced they wanted to demolish an iconic landmark, the Holland Estate. And it is because we work together as councillors, with councillors working with me and the local community, that we got a U-turn. It gives you a flavour of what we can achieve even when we're not in power. So imagine what we can do if we work together, stick together, and do not fracture, and do not divide. So it is right to say to us that if you don't deliver on your promises, we can vote you out. But please, don't throw the baby out in the bathwater. It's only been a few months in the council administration, and I have had 5 years. And you're absolutely right. You should challenge us, always. Because it's only through criticism, but constructive criticism, and I promise you, I will do the same to my Labour colleagues on the council, and they do the same back to me. That is really important, and it's a healthy part of what we must do as politicians and with the community. So why am I appealing for unity? Why am I appealing for partnership working? for constructive feedback and criticism, not destructive feedback. Because we've seen, ladies and gentlemen, what happens when we become fractured, we become divided, when things get destructive. This community cannot afford to divide again, because what we face now in this new Conservative administration, without the checks of any other party, with a Labour Party that is in a much more fragile, let's be frank, more fragile position, having lost 2 general elections, is a Conservative government on the march, devastating our communities up and down the country. And if you think you saw devastation over the last 5 years in our community, in the cuts we saw, we haven't seen anything yet. 500,000 kids, students, will lose maintenance grants while they study. That's over 5,000 in Tower Hamlets. John and others have mentioned the housing bill. It will devastate families. It will increase homelessness. The cuts in working families' tax credits, which we narrowly averted, but it's only for the short term. The slashing of funding in education, which will hold back our kids if we don't fight against it. The cuts in the GPs, the effects of GPs' contracts, junior doctors, and much more in the NHS. I could go on, but I don't want to depress you any further. That means we have to go back to the tradition of what we are best at, working together, sticking together, and making sure we've got the networks, we've got the organisation, and we take the resource, albeit limited, and the power that we have in order to fight off this wretched government and what it's planning to do to devastate communities like this. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we need networks like this one, and we need to connect this network with others up and down this constituency and up and down this city and the country. Because it's only by sticking together and working together and organising that we can ultimately win politically as well. So I just want to finish my remarks with the importance of politics. You all know this, because you fought politics long before I entered politics. And you made it possible for people like me to enter public life and dream of becoming a member of parliament and actually doing so. But if we can mobilize our strength, our connections, if you recruit, if every one of you recruit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people, when you go home, over the coming days, and into the hundreds, into the thousands, that will help us to win London back. And we desperately need Sadiq Khan to be the next Labour mayor for London. We desperately need Councillor Unmesh Desai to be our GLA member for East London. If we can do that, if we can win London back, we will make life easier for people in this community. We need the powers that the London Mayor has to stop the kinds of changes that the current administration, Tory administration, is putting in place. They are taking powers away from our council and building luxury towers that no one can afford to live in, like in the Bishopsgate goods yard round the corner from here. That's the kind of thing that has to stop. Only a Labour mayor can do so, and invest money in housing. So we've got to win these elections, otherwise the devastation that we faced will continue to get worse. That's why politics matters, but that's critically where you come in, where our partnership is so important. So thank you very much for everything you're doing. Thank you for your support to us, and I hope that this organisation grows and strengthens, and I wish you all every success for the future. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to convey a few apologies. Councillor Amy Whitelock sent an apology just by text. Councillor Shriya Ratu and Councillor Khalisuddin Ahmed. So they send an apology. Thank you very much. And after the conclusion of the meeting, there is some food will be served. So please take a seat. Thank you.
Finally, may I request the Secretary of the CNA, Mr. Farooq Ali, to conclude the meeting.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I'd like to thank you, Rushanara MP, and I'd like to thank you, Mr. John, and our respectable guest, সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, আমি আপনাদেরকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি। আপনারা অনেক ধৈর্য সহকারে আমাদের গেস্টদের মূল্যবান বক্তব্য শুনেছেন। আমি আপনাদের কাছে অত্যন্ত কৃতজ্ঞ আপনাদের এই ধৈর্য এবং এই কষ্ট স্বীকার করার জন্য। সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, আমরা নতুনভাবে কমিউনিটি নেটওয়ার্কের দায়িত্ব পেয়েছি। আপনাদের সহযোগিতা এবং দোয়া দুইটাই আমরা কামনা করি। আমরা ভবিষ্যতে এই নেটওয়ার্কের জন্য কাজ করে যাব, আপনারা আমাদের পাশে থাকবেন, আমাদের এই আশা। আমরা টাওয়ার হ্যামলেটে অনেক অর্গানাইজেশনের সাথে কাজ করে যাচ্ছি। এর মধ্যে টাওয়ার হ্যামলেটের কেয়ারার অ্যাসোসিয়েশন, আবু ভাই সহ, মাসুদ ভাই সহ ওনাদের সাথে কাজ করে যাচ্ছি। আমরা ফুটবল অ্যাসোসিয়েশনের নুরুল সহ আরো অনেক আছে, তাদের সাথে কাজ করে যাচ্ছি। আপনারা দোয়া করবেন টাওয়ার হ্যামলেট সহ তথা কমিউনিটির যে কোনো সমস্যার জন্য আমরা যাতে কাজ করে যেতে পারি। সবার কাছে এই আশাই আমি করি। এবং আপনাদের কাছে আরেকটা অনুরোধ, যদি কমিউনিটিতে কোনো ধরনের কোনো সমস্যার সৃষ্টি হয়, দয়া করে আপনারা আমাদেরকে অবগত করবেন। আমরা আপনাদের সহযোগিতা চাই, আপনাদের সাথে কাঁধে কাঁধ মিলিয়ে কাজ করে যেতে চাই। আমি আপনাদের এই ধৈর্য সহকারে এতক্ষণ সবার বক্তব্য শোনার জন্য আবারও ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি কমিউনিটি নেটওয়ার্কের পক্ষ থেকে। এবং সানু ভাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি, উনি আমাদেরকে যোগ্য মনে করেছেন এবং ওনাদের আমরা যারা নতুন সিলেক্টেড হয়েছি ওনারা মনে করেছেন যে আমরা ভবিষ্যতে এই সংগঠনের জন্য কাজ করে যেতে পারবো, তাই এই গুরু দায়িত্ব আমাদেরকে দিয়েছেন। এই দায়িত্ব যাতে আমরা পালন করে যেতে পারি সেই আশাই আমরা সবার কাছে রাখবো এবং সবার কাছে এই দোয়া কামনা করে আমি আমার সংক্ষিপ্ত বক্তব্য শেষ করছি। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু।